Traders anticipate the fixed income market will continue to have the eye of investors following the impact of rate hikes. For the NASD OTC market, year-to-date performance returned to a bullish run with an increase of 2% in weekly performance. Oludare Fajimolu, Head Research and Strategy at the NASD OTC, joins me now for a review of the markets. Thank you so much, Dari, for your time today. So overall, what do you make of the trends that we're seeing in the markets? Clearly, equities have taken a hit over the last couple of weeks, especially on the Nigeria exchange. But moving on to the NASD, can you just review for us the type of activity we're seeing with respect to interest in equities and fixed income?
Thank you for having me, Wally. Essentially, what we're witnessing is partly because of the rate hike, investors naturally prefer the fixed income space than the equity space. However, in the long run or in the long term, the equities market will always be the preferred option for raising long-term capital. Capital formation that can help the companies to be viable and get more integrated into the economy. So while that is what we're experiencing in the short term, I mean, interest in the fixed income markets relative to equity, then there's also a few interest in specific stocks and so forth. But in general, the economic background is still something also that is affecting demand or interest on the NASD platform as well, because part of the things that investors are looking at are rising inflation, the rate of increase in inflation, and forex issues, and perhaps more importantly is the coming elections from a policy direction, from a perspective of the policy direction.
Right.
So definitely a new government is coming in. This is the second and last year of President Buhari's administration. So a new government is coming in, new policies and so forth. So that uncertainty is what is making investors also to shy away from the market.
Right. I'm curious though, do we get foreign investors looking at the NASD? What type of activity or interest are we seeing from foreign investors in that market?
Currently, foreign investors are not. I cannot give a specific figure, because what tends to happen is that foreign investors will go through brokers, which we call participating institutions. So and the brokers are also similar to the ones that you have on the NGX. So it's more or less, in terms of the brokers participating in institutions, they are very similar. They are the same actually. So foreign investors will naturally go through them, but based on interaction, it's not as high as we don't have much foreign interest yet.
All right. Okay. Let's talk a bit about the outlook, though. What is your expectation as we move further into the fourth quarter in terms of investment activity on the NASD?
We still expect that investment activities will be a little bit moderate. Will not be. There's no real catalyst at this moment, on one hand, and then on the second hand, the challenges or the risks are real. I just mentioned the coming general elections, which essentially is taking. It's like is at the forefront of discussions and plannings, making plans and budget anticipations for next year, both at the corporate level and at the federal level. So but the fact that we're going to have new policies next year, and that's going to affect the policy direction of the entire economy, and as a result of that, the strategic direction of the companies. So that's something that is that we expect that investors will be will be cautious coming into the last quarter of the year. But of course, the end of the year festivities can also trigger some activities and interest in the space as well.
All right. And what about new listings, though? I guess that has been somewhat muted for the most part of this year, but are we hearing about potential listings on the NASD platform?
What I'll say is that we are working on a couple of initiatives that we believe will generate new listings. How soon? I cannot give a specific time range, but
But
that's
can
something
you
that
describe
is
those initiatives at a high level for us? What exactly are you looking at?
okay. So we are particularly focused. We have an approach that is sector based. So we look at the sectors. Essentially, we're looking at sectors that have that can that can have a multiplier effect on the economy. So it's a drive. The drive for us is about integrating the capital market into the broader economy. So we're looking at specific sectors, companies in specific sectors that meet certain criteria. So the real estate, for instance, or the mortgage space, for instance, is one that we have in. And so we're taking steps to attract companies in these particular sectors to consider listing because, like I mentioned earlier, that is equities will still be the preferred option for raising long-term capital.
And just a last question is your perspective on the macro story as we head into this election cycle. Just as a market regulator and organizer, I just wanted to hear your perspective on how you see things panning out over the next couple of months.
Over the next couple of months, particular focus or emphasis will be on the pronouncements um, of presidential aspirants, especially, and we don't have much yet. Perhaps for several reasons, everybody's warming up and trying to marshal their plans and achieve for campaign and so forth. Some have started, it's not yet in the swing. So once we start hearing those kind of conversations, that is actually going to be the tipping point in our view for things that can actually shape economic direction in terms of how, because at this stage, corporate organizations are already in the planning mode for 2023. So corporate strategies, corporate plans, and budgets, and so forth are going to be influenced by these pronouncements and comments. And so that's one particular thing that investors or the market at large is actually going to be paying attention to. And
Right.
other things like budget, federal budget, and especially the foreign exchange balance in the country.
All right, let's leave it there. Thank you so much for your time today. Oludare Fajimolu, Head of Research and Strategy at the NASD.